Greenlight Network presents Football Time.
Hey, and welcome to the Football Time Podcast. We're here with our man, Achilles Rain. Achilles, are you ready to get in to the NFL playoffs? It is here. No more bad games. No more terrible teams. Just the elite of the elite.
Well, you do have to include the AFC East in there, so there might be a few bad ones here and there.
There might be a couple in there, but they at least have a NFC East defense. So the defense is playoff worthy. I will give it that.
Oh, yeah, definitely. They're definitely up there.
All right. So merging into that, we touched on Doug Peterson on our Tuesday show. This story won't die about the Eagles supposedly tanking the game, putting in Nate Sudfeld, going for a touchdown instead of kicking a field goal to tie it, blah, 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 blah. The Giants and Joe Judge went into complaining mode about it, and I don't know. The story won't die. I have actually no thought. Watching the game, I didn't think the Eagles were tanking the game. I just think Doug Peterson is that bad a coach and that dumb to go for a touchdown when he could have had a field goal to tie. And he probably watched Jalen Hurts throw and was like, hey, Nate can throw it better. He can get us back in it. So I don't know. What do you make of this situation?
Well, for those of you that don't know, the whole controversy stems from, I believe it was Philadelphia's running back Sanders, who I think he tweeted out or he said something along the lines of the team and the locker room wasn't happy about the decision to bench Hurts over for Sudfeld. And a lot of people then started speculating that Philadelphia basically tanked that game on purpose for either a draft pick or to make sure that New York didn't make it into the playoffs. I just have a couple thoughts on the subject. For one, I think that the loss to Washington by Philadelphia basically, it took the Giants playoff spot or their opportunity to make it into the playoffs, but I don't think that New York should really be dependent on anybody to get them into the playoffs, besides themselves. I think that's where they made the big mistake. You put yourself in that situation. So I don't understand why people are up in arms about it. To me personally, if my team is playing week 17 and there's absolutely nothing to gain from winning, and there's actually an implication as far as draft positioning goes, I'm perfectly fine with my team tanking because ultimately, it's about your team and improving your team in the long term. It's not about, we got to do this. And I know that it's going to come up a lot, the whole competitive spirit thing and the integrity of the game. I understand all that. I understand where people are coming from with that argument, but ultimately it's about my team improving. I could care less about the other teams, especially a divisional opponent team whom we have to play twice a season. So I'm not too worried about it. I think that it's not much of a story. I just think it's teams that couldn't do much and stay relevant for the postseason, trying to stay relevant.
Yeah, I think you made the best point there. The Giants are complaining. They finished 6-10. You know what you don't get to do? Complain about not making the playoffs when you're 6-10. How about don't start out 0-5? How about beat the Bears? How about beat said Eagles? How about beat the Cowboys? You had plenty of opportunities to, make yourself better. You don't get to complain about not making the playoffs when you're 6-10. Now, if they're 11-5, I can maybe make an argument for something like this, but you're 6-10. Silence, go make your draft pick and be quiet.
I'm sorry. I thought I had my mic muted there.
I was about to send you a text.
No, yeah, I was just basically saying that,
It's okay. It's not like this was live or anything.
Oh yeah, I know, right? It only says live on Facebook, but yeah, no. Basically, all I said was that if I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan, I'm just saying, we got a better draft position because of it. If I'm a Giants fan, I'm just moving on and getting ready for the draft. There's no reason to drag this on any further.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So let's move to the playoffs. And before we get into the games, let's move into some futures and conference champions, Super Bowl champions. Let's start out with conference winners. You want to start out in the AFC. Do you have any bets you like in the AFC conference winner slate?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't really know at this point. I think that the teams that are up there, there's at least 2 or 3 teams that I could definitely see winning it, win that conference for both the AFC and the NFC. I think that it's a pretty competitive year as far as the top echelon teams are concerned. So do I have a favorite? Maybe there's a team that I like a little bit more, but if I had to choose right now, I would probably choose Buffalo in the AFC. And as far as the NFC is concerned, I'd probably head towards the Saints.
Yeah, I had a couple. I don't advise betting on conference winners outright just because there's actually better value. If you aren't taking the Chiefs, if you're taking the Chiefs, that's fine. They'll be favored in every game. But somebody like the Ravens, who I highlighted, is probably the one I maybe put money on at plus 550. There's more value in taking them money line to win every game because by the second and third game, they won't be a favored team. And you'll be able to make up that money by betting them every game instead of just having them outright to win. But I did highlight the Ravens at plus 550. I didn't love the Bills at plus 375 because once they play the Chiefs, they'll most certainly be around 2-1 underdogs. So you're just better off betting these teams every game. I guess if you're going to take a real long shot like the Browns or the Colts, but I wouldn't hold my breath on them winning the AFC. NFC wise, the only one of value I saw anything in was the Rams at 14-1, but they have a tough matchup, and with their quarterback situation the way it is, you would be better off betting them each game. But at 14-1 with that defense, it's a pretty good price NFC wise. But the others, Packers 2-1, did not like. Bucks plus 360 is a terrible bet. You could maybe talk me into Seahawks at 4-1. We'll get to that later in the sort of Super Bowl matchup futures. But that's about all I had conference wise. Maybe put a little on the Ravens. Rams line was pretty decent, I thought.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. I just personally didn't feel comfortable enough with taking any of those at those type of odds. I think that the value, you can find some value, but as competitive as both conferences are, I just don't feel like the value outweighs the risk for me at least.
Yeah. We'll move on to some futures. I had a couple in the who will reach the final that I sort of liked. Did you have any in the who will reach the final ones that you liked?
I didn't do the who reaches the finals, but I just went straight into who wins the championship.
Well, I had a couple that I looked at. Bills Seahawks at 14-1 seemed a pretty decent value. I thought there would be a chance there. You're getting pretty good odds, especially if the Seahawks can get past the Rams. I think they match up pretty well with Green Bay and Tampa Bay. I don't know how well they match up with the Saints, but I think there's decent value there, and Buffalo's the hottest team in the league. And the other one I was looking at was the Ravens and the Seahawks at 30-1. Pretty long shot value there, but the Ravens are favored this week, so I really did like that. And the other thing I liked was AFC North versus NFC West to play in the Super Bowl. You're getting really good value there because there are 3 teams each in the playoffs, and both of them on one side are matched up. On the NFC side, Rams, Seahawks. On the AFC side, Steelers, Browns. So you're guaranteed at least a team to make it to the second round from there. So there is some value there, at least I thought, if you were looking for a decent long shot. And once you get further along in the playoffs and you have this bet, you can start to insure it by making some money line bets there.
Yeah, I mean that definitely to me does sound like there's some value there. I like that pick you said. So I don't know. You know me, I'm definitely more of the cautious better when it comes to the two of us. So, but I do like the points you made there. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. All right. Last thing before we get into the games, Super Bowl winner. Did you like any of these odds on the Super Bowl winners, or were you staying away?
I mean, some of the odds are pretty good. I know that you're not huge on the Colts. You know, they've played pretty bad as of late, but I think that at plus 4,000 to win a Super Bowl, I think there's some value there. You know, especially if they decide to pick up their game, you know, back towards the that elite type of defense that we saw early on this season. I think there's some value there. But for me personally, a safe bet, you know, that gives you value, but it's still more of a certainty. Buffalo at plus 700 and the Saints at plus 750. I think there's decent enough value there to make something. And both of those teams are really hot right now. So I think that you can definitely probably make some out of that. But overall, I think that the top 7 teams don't offer as good value as the bottom 7.
Yeah, I could see your point on the Colts, especially if they can somehow manage to get by this opening weekend. The matchup, I think, versus Buffalo is really tough, but the other ones, I think they match up pretty well with the other teams. So if they can somehow manage to get by Buffalo, I wouldn't mind that 40-1 there. I also highlighted the Bills. I thought the Bills at plus 700 was a pretty good value. I didn't love the Saints at plus 750. I also highlighted the Ravens at 10-1. But what I do with that would once again be I'd money line bet them up into the point of the Super Bowl, and then you have that 10-1. You have them continuing to win money, and then you can manage to insure it once you get to the Super Bowl, because the line will be in and around 4 to 6 points, no matter who's playing in the Super Bowl there. But those were the ones I highlighted. I also like the Seahawks 14-1. I thought that was my long shot value. If they can get past this matchup versus the Rams, it's going to be tough because it's a, conference opponent. Judging by the line, we'll get to that in a second. I'm assuming Goff's going out there because the line seems really low for a guy who was doing someone's taxes a couple of weeks ago. So that's what I had Super Bowl winner wise.
Yeah, we'll get into it in a little bit, but I agree with Vegas probably has some inside information as far as the health of those Rams players. We did get news that Whitworth is playing, so that helps a little bit.
Also, Cooper got greenlit too.
Yes, but I don't think that just those two guys alone are enough to shift the point differential that much. So
also,
maybe they know a little something.
Don't know how much Cooper matters if you have a quarterback who can't throw the ball behind center.
And I think Brockers might even be a go, but we'll see. We'll get into it in a little bit.
All right, so let's get into the games. We're going to go through all these games. We will give our pick on these games, but this isn't necessarily our betting pick. We're just going to give our pick and see how we preview these, and then we'll see if we can find a couple mutuals that we both like, and then at the end we'll make our actual picks for the playoffs this week. So let's start out with the first game of the week. We already touched on it a little bit. Indianapolis Colts at the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo Bills -6. This line sits really, it tempts me Buffalo-wise. I know Indianapolis is really good. I really respect Indianapolis, but Indianapolis going to Buffalo makes me very nervous. And more than anything, Phillip Rivers going to Buffalo makes me really nervous. I'm curious of your take on this game.
I don't know. When I looked at the line, it's at 6.5. That's what it's currently sitting at now. A little bloated for me, but when I sat back and I looked at, the the total rankings for both teams, the Colts came in at number 10 in total offense and number 8 in total defense. I know that over the last 3 weeks, they definitely haven't shown that. Their last 3 opponents was basically a win against the Texans, a loss at Pittsburgh, and then a win against Jacksonville. Both of those wins are against pretty poor teams. For Buffalo side of the ball, they came in at number 2 on total offense and number 14 on total defense, with their last 3 being a win at Miami, who had a really good stingy defense, and they put up 56 points on them. New England, a team with Coach Belichick, who does a really good job at game planning against teams. That was a big win, 38-9. And then a win against Denver, 48-19, another team that has shown the potential to play really good defense at times. So, at first I was a little concerned about it. And I could definitely see the Colts maybe kind of slowing them down a little bit if they play the type of defense that we saw earlier on this season. But Buffalo's just hot, man. They're on fire. It's hard to really argue with, even a 6.5 point spread. I could definitely see them if they win this game by at least a touchdown. Like I said, they've played against some tough defenses over the last 3 weeks, and they still seem to put up big points. So this is probably one of those that if you feel comfortable, if I was a Buffalo fan, I'd definitely jump in on this for, 1, supporting my team, and then 2, the possibility of making some money.
Yeah, I think Indianapolis got the bad deal here in playing a red-hot Buffalo Bills team. Offensively, they are clicking on all cylinders, and I think that's Colts defense. The second half of the season has not been as great as it had been in the first half of the season. I think some injuries started to nick it up. I think their best chance would definitely be to control the game, running the ball and trying to keep that Bills offense off the field. Do you think the Buffalo Bills defense, which in the first half of the season was really leaky, but second half of the season they looked pretty good, can the Colts run the ball enough to keep this Bills offense off the field?
See, that's the part that scares me, is that even though we saw that running game kind of get a little bit better, that team's main running attack still going to consist with Josh Allen. I think that he's the reason they win games, because he can put up big numbers through the air and he can put up big numbers on the ground also. So I don't know how confident I feel in Buffalo's rushing attack, but it's also hard to account for a team's rushing attack when the quarterback is the biggest producer there. So, this to me is one of those really curious games. I personally wouldn't take any action on it. I'd be more excited to just sit back and watch the outcome of this game.
Yeah. All right. So we said we'd make a pick on it. If I had to pick, I'm going Buffalo Bills -6. Where are you sitting with this one?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. If I had to pick, I'm definitely taking Buffalo, even at 6.5. I think that if they continue on this trend they've been over the last 3 weeks, we could definitely see a big offensive game for them.
Yeah. All right. We'll move on to the next game. Los Angeles Rams, Seattle Seahawks. The Seattle Seahawks are 3.5 point favorites. We talked about it a little. This line is sitting at 3.5, which tells me Jared Goff is playing, because I think if Watford was playing, this would be a 6. I'm going to tell you right now, if Watford is the quarterback and that sits at 3.5, I would definitely bet on the Seahawks, even with this being a conference matchup. But if Goff is playing, as much as we give him crap, then I become a little bit more leery of taking this. I think Seattle's in a better position here, but I'm curious of your take.
As much as I try to not be biased, it's really hard for me because I love my team regardless of how much, poo-poo I give them throughout the season and their performance. But when I looked at it this morning at 3.5, I started thinking to myself, there's definitely, something known by Vegas here. They probably know that Goff is going to play, because I don't think, like I said, the addition of Kupp and Whitworth would swing the line that far down. If Goff is playing, I feel a little bit more confident taking the Rams, especially when you're getting points. But until I know for sure, I'd probably stay away from it. It's just, the Rams, they ended up with the number 11 total offense in the NFL, and they ended up number 1 in total defense. So we know that they have a really good defense already. There's no question about that. I don't think anyone would argue that. When it comes to the Rams, it's really about that offense and, whether Jared Goff can keep them going or not. For the Seahawks side of the ball, they ended up number 17th on total offense and number 22 for total defense. Now, I know that over the last 3 weeks, I've definitely played a bit more Seattle-ish style defense, a little stingier, a little more aggressive. So I don't look at the total stats and, take too much from it. But I'm just going to be biased. I think that the Rams defense can do enough to keep this one close, and getting points. I like the Rams.
Yeah. Couple things I'd like to know before I really would bet on this game. One, Cam Akers' health. We saw him last week. He played and he was not healthy. It would have been better if a human being had been walking essentially to the holes that the line was giving. So I want to know how healthy Cam Akers is because that would be a really, really important factor because even with Goff, if they don't have the running game, and I don't think they have the running game with Malcolm Brown back there, he's a good third down back. He's a good, situational back. But I want to know how healthy Cam Akers was before I went with St. Louis. And
You mean L.A.?
L.A., St. Louis, geez.
It's the colors. The colors are throwing you off.
Yes, I know. We're dating myself. But I would take Los Angeles right now if Goff and Akers were healthy. One, because 3.5 in a game played in the playoffs in the division. Also, Seattle has gone back to that style, where they will play a tight game till the very end. And honestly, the Rams, the last 4 to 5 weeks, have only played tight games where situational stuff matters in the last remaining minutes of that fourth quarter. But if you're giving me Watford, I would jump all over Seattle the second that was named before this line jumps up.
Yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from. As a Ram fan, I'm taking action on my Rams or I'm not. For anyone else out there, the exact same thing you said. If Goff is here, then maybe I consider putting a little bit of action on the Rams. I wouldn't blame you if even with Goff playing, you still took the Seahawks because they've been playing pretty good over the last few weeks. So either way, I think that this is more of a toss-up than some of the other games. It's hard to really predict what type of offense for the Rams is going to show up and whether the Seahawks defense can keep up the play they've been playing over the last few weeks.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, we'll move on to the last game. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Washington football team. Tampa Bay is 8.5-point road favorites. I like Washington spread-wise here. I don't like them to win this game. I don't think they'll be able to have the offense. But once again, we're starting to get word that it might be Heineke who's playing quarterback. I don't know how healthy Alex Smith is, or maybe they do the Willis Reed thing in there and put Alex Smith in for a series or two and then go to Heineke trying to spark this team. But matchup-wise here, this front line for the Washington football team, I think, can give some problems to Tom Brady. Now, if Bruce Arians is willing to run the ball and just control this game by running the ball, they probably will blow Washington out. But a part of me thinks he wants to try to air it out and blow this team out. And I think that's let's Chase Young and the boys get to him. And then Brady starts to get those happy feet, and we start getting those quick grounders right to the line of scrimmage here. So 8.5 points, I think, is a lot of points as a favorite on the road in a playoff game, no matter how bad the Washington football team is. We've seen these 7 and 9 teams who get these home games, be a little tougher than they were in the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think that this is probably one of the more bloated lines for this wild card round. Part of that has to be the fact that when you look at the Bucs numbers, they're really inflated, and a lot of it has to do because, like you mentioned, over the last few weeks, they seem to be padding their stats, especially against those really bad teams. the Bucks' last 3 games is a win at Atlanta, 31-27, a win at Detroit, 47-7, and then another win versus Atlanta, 44-27. And in those games, you definitely saw a lot of stat padding. It's one of the reasons why the Bucks ended up with number 7 total offense and the number 6 total defense. The defense is the one that really kind of struck me as a surprise. I don't remember them playing really lockdown defense, but apparently they've been doing a good enough job to get themselves within the top 10. That's the part that scares me is, will that top 10 defense show up against that 30th ranked total offense in Washington? And if that's the case, then this could definitely be a blowout. I know the spread's really high, but I have a little bit more faith in Washington's defense showing up and at least keeping it somewhat close than I do in Washington offense putting up enough points to keep it close. So to me, this is probably one of those games that I'm staying away from just because that line, I feel like it's too bloated, even though I could definitely see the scenario where they cover that.
Yeah, the defense has actually been Tampa Bay's biggest strength. I know they never get any press, but their front line has been really good. Now it dropped off a little bit when Vita Vea went out, but they've still been pretty solid. Their secondary has been a little weak, but that's the problem is Washington can't really take real advantage of that. They're going to have to try to run the ball. Tampa Bay has been a really tough team to run the ball against. So it's offensively, I think it would be a struggle for Washington to get to 14 points here, unless Taylor Heineke turns out to be the greatest single quarterback of all time. But I still like this 8.5. I think this will be at least a tight game through a 3 quarters as Washington's defense tries to hold on here.
Well, you've definitely been more of a Washington lover than I have this season. And really quick before we move on, our colleague Dynamite David in the comment section saying he likes the money line for Washington. That's probably, for that Bucks Washington game, that's probably it probably sounds like a smart decision. And really quick, just a shout out to Dynamite for providing this awesome Rams helmet here.
Well, I've been trying to talk myself into it all week long, taking Washington money line, and I just can't do it because I can't. They need at least 24 points, and I struggle to rack my brain at how Washington can get to 24 points here.
Listen, even Wifey, former Tom Brady supporter, thinks that Washington can upset Tampa Bay in this one, and even our colleague Dynamite, he thinks that the last 2 times that a losing record team hosted a playoff game, they ended up winning, and he thinks that trend will continue. So we'll see how that goes, and hopefully you're right, because we might be taking a little action on this, and if it falls short, I'm blaming it on you, Dynamite.
Yeah, one of those teams was that Seattle team that ended up winning the Super Bowl the next year and was loaded. I'm not.
Were they
sure.
7-9?
Yes, that one where Marshawn Lynch caused the earthquake. They beat the Saints team.
Oh yeah, that's probably one of the greatest Super Bowl playoff moments in the history. I can still remember it almost happening as if it was happening right now.
Yeah. All right. So let's move to Sunday's slate, and actually probably the best game on the playoff list here. Why it's not the night game, I don't know. Why we're getting Cleveland Browns, Pittsburgh Steelers, I don't know. But anyway, Baltimore Ravens, Tennessee Titans, really fascinated with how this game's going to play out. Little shocked by the line here, -3.5 for Baltimore. I definitely, first glance, lean Tennessee here, even as hot as Baltimore's been. I'm curious about your thoughts on this.
Prior to sitting down and really looking at everything as a whole, I was definitely leaning more towards the Ravens. I just, based off what I saw on the field, I felt like they were one of the hotter teams going into the playoffs. When I sat down and really started analyzing everything, the Ravens ended up with the 19th total offense, number 7 in total defense. Their last 3 games, was a win against Jacksonville, 40-14, a win against the Giants, 27-13, and then they traveled to Cincinnati where they won 38-3. Yeah, they seem like really good performances, but when you take into account the teams, three pretty bad teams. Other than the Giants, they have an okay defense, but all three of those teams are pretty bad. Whereas in Tennessee, even though they ended up with the 28th total defense, they do come in here with the number 3 total offense. And their last 3 games were winning at Detroit 46-25. Sorry, versus Detroit 46-25. A loss at Green Bay, which you can't really fault them for. Green Bay's on fire right now, but that was a big defensive blunder by them. And then the win versus a different divisional opponent with Houston, which was a 41-38 victory. Maybe not, the best type of wins on paper, but I don't know. I still think that Tennessee probably has a more well-rounded offense. I
thought you were going to say defense there for a second.
No, I'm not. Listen, if I could trade that defense away for any defense, I'd give them a better shot at winning the Super Bowl. But no, that offense is really scary. They have some big weapons at wide receiver. Obviously, they have one of the best running backs in the NFL. So can Baltimore keep up that offensive type game style they've been playing? Maybe they can a little bit, but will it be enough to keep up with this high-powered offense? And at getting 3.5 points, I kind of like the Titans in this one.
Yeah. I like the Ravens overall as a whole in the playoffs, but this game with these points, I don't like them favored by 3.5 points. I think these two teams are really, really tight, and this will be a real interesting type game, clash in styles. I guess if Baltimore could take advantage of, the Titans' poor pass defense, then I could see Baltimore running away with that. But I don't see Baltimore being able to take advantage of Tennessee's poor pass defense. So then it just becomes sort of who makes a bad mistake here or there. Is it Tannehill? Is it Jackson? Who wins that turnover battle? Because I think that'll be really the key thing. Who gets some cheap points somewhere in this game and finds them? So pick-wise, I think if you were forcing me to take something, I think I'd take Tennessee Titans plus 3.5 all day long here.
Yeah, I agree with you. Even though both teams have a really good rushing attack, when it comes to the passing attack, I definitely have a lot more confidence on the weapons for Tennessee. And this just breaking in from the Dynamite Sports Bureau Stats and Info Department. Apparently, Tannehill has as many rushing touchdowns as Lamar Jackson. So, you can account for that and take that as you will. But I definitely like Tennessee in this one.
Well, okay. We'll see which one's the better rushing quarterback.
Listen, I said rushing touchdowns, not rushing yards.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We'll move on after those fake stats are charted to me. Chicago Bears, New Orleans Saints minus 10. This is a very, very large spread. The Bears are not a very good team, but I just don't know if the Saints can win by 10 versus anybody right now. They look a little mismatched. I don't know what sort of health Kamara's in. He's going to play, quote unquote, though he was in a virtual meeting today preparing. I don't know quite how a running back virtually prepares for a game, but that just seems like a lot of points here.
Yeah, I mean, 10 points, that's what you got it at, right?
I have it at 10. I'm looking at it now. I'm at MGM.
I mean, that's what I got it. It was 10. Yeah. Listen, the Bears, I feel like I have to give them some respect.
It's in the playoffs, baby.
Listen, they were in the playoffs. They got in, even with all these other teams in the NFC that we thought could definitely sneak in past them. They're in there, and a lot of it has to do because over the last 5-6 weeks or so, they've been putting up big offensive numbers. Now, that didn't really work when they went up against Green Bay. Green Bay kind of completely shut that offense down.
You mean the game that mattered?
Yeah. But, hey, listen, they're still in it. So, it didn't matter that much. But, yeah, I mean, they definitely shown, a little trend as far as putting up big offensive numbers. So, it just that defense isn't what we normally expect from a Chicago Bears defense to be. So, I don't know. Even though we have all these question marks with the Saints, we've had them all season long, whether it be who's going to play a wide receiver, who's going to play a quarterback. And yet time and time again, they've been producing and putting up big numbers and getting wins. So even at -10, I know that it's big, so I wouldn't definitely bet on it. But if I had to pick one, if you made me choose one, I'm still going with the Saints. I think that they've been the most consistent team in these playoffs, especially when you consider like all the unknown factors, whether it be quarterback, wide receiver, running backs, defense, doesn't matter. And let's not forget that New Orleans definitely played some top 5 style defense as we got closer to the end of the season. So maybe they can keep that up again. And if they do, then I think they're going to be really tough to beat.
Yeah. I could definitely see this Saints defense completely shutting the Bears down. And the Bears defense, technically speaking, has not been as good as you think it would have been if you look at that roster. So I guess I could see where the Saints get up on them. And once they get up on them, the Bears really have no way of coming back. But I think if they can, I don't know, stay semi-close, maybe run the ball. I say that, and then the Saints have probably the best rush defense in the NFL, so they might struggle doing that. And I don't want to take a team -10 in a playoff game. I don't care how bad the mismatch is, but I could definitely see where the Saints run away with this, but I think the Bears can at least make this uncomfortable. I don't know how much the Saints are really going to want to run this score up. I also feel like the Saints get up, put this thing away, and just try to play for next week. Their goals are to try to win a Super Bowl, not beat the Bears' butt in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. Like I said, I don't want any action in this game. That line is way too big for me. But if I had to choose, it's hard for me to go against the Saints, man. They've put winning on the map this season for New Orleans, and that's basically what they've done all season long. So at 10, I'm not taking any action on it though.
Yeah. All right. I'd go Bears, but I definitely wouldn't bet on it. Just for our stat friends out there, Cam Newton had 12 rushing touchdowns. So by our man Dynamite David's theory, he likes the rushing touchdown quarterbacks. Maybe he'd like to trade Ryan Tannehill out for Cam Newton if he's really big on rushing touchdowns by QBs.
Or better yet, I got an even better idea. Cut Tannehill, sign Cam Newton, and then Tannehill can come to LA and play for the Rams.
All right, we'll move on to our next game. Cleveland Browns, Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh is 6.5-point favorites. I'm all over this. I'm taking the Steelers and running with it. There's always one game in the playoffs that's like a huge blowout. This is the one I think is going to be a huge blowout.
See, I kind of felt that way after the regular season ended, and we, kind of got a glimpse of these two teams going at it with implications on the line. For Cleveland, they really needed to win that game. They needed to win to make sure they got into the playoffs. And the Steelers had nothing to play for, so they basically played their entire practice squad, and it was a tight, competitive game. The offense for Cleveland didn't look good. Now, we don't know if they're saving their run first attack style offense for the playoffs, because they very well could be. And if they do, then they're going to be a very dangerous team offensively. Now, both offensively and defensively, they're kind of middle of the pack. I believe they ended up 16th for total offense.
Well, I don't know, but Ronnie Harrison tested positive for COVID today.
Yeah,
the starting safety, so he's out for Cleveland.
Yeah, see, I mean, that really plays a factor into it, because they weren't that great to begin with, for defense. I think they ended up 17th total defense as it is. So they're definitely susceptible, in certain games. I just feel like if they come out and they run the ball, they can keep it close enough. The Steelers, even though they had that really good run, they had that incredible streak where they hadn't lost a game, they're still number 25th in total offense, so they're definitely struggling offensively. It's that defense that's kept them in games. They're number 3 in total defense. So if that defense can come out and dominate that offense, especially with all their starters back this time, I could definitely see this being one of those blowouts. I don't think this is going to be the biggest blowout of the season, of this particular round, but I could definitely feel like the Steelers are going to win this one, and they probably win by, at least 10 points. So I'm definitely like hopping on the Steelers for this game.
The other thing that makes me think this will be a big blowout, they played in week 6, Steelers won 38-7, and the Browns were much, much healthier then. They also had their head coach in that game. They will not have their head coach in this one. I just think the Browns got what they wanted. They got in the playoffs, and I think they'll just capitulate here and lay down. Steelers will run away with this puppy at -6. Of the games on the playoffs that I really like, this is the one I probably like the best.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this is the one.
Not to
Yeah,
watch.
no, definitely. I agree. I don't understand why it's the primetime game for Sunday night, but that's neither here nor there. I
Just
still
be happy we didn't get another Tampa Bay game. I figured they'd make them play twice, so we got them 2 nights in a row.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I'll count my blessings and move on. But I do like the Steelers in this one.
Thanks for the Washington football team on 2 night games in a row. That's just what we need.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be exciting. Big Bucks game versus Washington.
All right. So any mutuals here? The ones I like the best are Steelers and probably Washington football team. Any others you like a whole lot that you'd be willing to mutual up on?
I really like the Steelers. I think that that's definitely mutual for us. I don't know. I'm not as big on Washington. I don't think I don't know what they're putting out there offensively. If I knew that Alex Smith was healthy and good to go, I'd definitely feel more comfortable that way. But
well, why don't you go give him your leg? He might be a little shorter, at least on one side, but
he could probably put it to better use than what I'm currently doing, because I'm not doing much today. But yeah, I don't know. I think that for mutuals, I think that the Steelers and Browns are probably going to be it.
All right. So our mutuals is the Pittsburgh Steelers -6. This is what you come for. The hot action. 1 game of the 6 in the playoffs.
Yeah, there's only 6 to choose from. You can't really hold that against us.
All right. Before we get into our picks, we'll recap our finals on the year. All right. So guess what? On the mutuals in the Ringer FanDuel, in week 17, we went 4-1, and really we went 5-0 because our lone loss was a Jacksonville +13.5. And if you got it on Sunday, it was 15, and they covered that. So we went 4-1 on our mutuals on week 17. Giants +2.5 winner, Jaguars +13.5 loser. Texans +7.5 winner, Broncos +2.5 winner, Washington a -0.5 winner, 4-1. So overall, 48-38 on our mutuals. Pretty good, huh?
Yeah, that's not bad. I like it.
All right. So we'll go to you. You had a 2-1 week. You finished up 2-1, kept yourself above 500 as you crashed to earth the last couple of weeks, but you bounced back in week 17. You lost the Giants-Cowboys. It probably is fitting that the last week of the season you die with the Dallas Cowboys as your lone loss on the week.
After I said I would never take them again.
Chargers -3.5 was a winner versus the Chiefs. And you had the Broncos +2.5, which was a winner. Final record, 44-39-3. So pretty good overall record. You were much better in the first probably 12 weeks. That last 4 weeks really hurt you.
Yeah, definitely. But either way, if you went with my picks all season long, you've got a little extra cash in the bank. So
yeah, that's true. All right. I finished up 3-0 on week 17. Giants winner, Steelers winner, Broncos winner. Overall, 51-40-1. So I had a good close.
Yeah, you did.
NFL season.
You start off slow. You start off really hot in your college games. I was listening to your Football Time podcast with Dynamite Dave. Where you
I went reverse.
Yeah, you started off kind of cold here. You were really hot there. And then you slowed down over there and you really picked it up here. It was a little concerning for me as I watched you slowly inch your way back, getting close to that lead.
Yeah, probably because the college season was a disaster and I spent more time watching NFL games by week 8.
That was my downfall.
All right. So those are our recaps on the year. All right. So our individual playoff picks for this week. Do you have any picks for us?
Oh gosh. Let's see. I'm probably gonna take. I don't want to take 3, but I think I'm gonna take 3. I am going to take the Steelers, obviously at -6. I'm going to take the Rams at plus 3.5, and I am going to take the Titans at plus 3.5.
Oh my. All right. I have 3 picks as well. The Steelers at -6, of course. The Washington football team at plus 8.5. And my last one, the Los Angeles Rams, St. Louis Seahawks, under 42.5.
Hold on. I just, I know we're live, but you said the LA Rams and the St. Louis Seahawks. Is that what you said?
I don't know. I'm getting loopy.
I think
had
you might have.
Carrabba's earlier today. It's welding into my brain.
Listen, that's fine. Send him St. Louis. I don't want to play the Seattle Seahawks anymore. We might have a better shot going up against the St. Louis Seahawks.
So Rams, Seahawks, under 42.5. Washington football team, 8.5. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, -6 are my 3 NFL playoff picks.
I like those, man, especially that Ram one. I didn't think about any over-unders with such little games, but that's actually a really good one.
Yeah, it's the playoffs. Everyone ride unders. They always go under,
Oh, yeah.
especially with bad weather.
Now, really quick, before we move on to anything else, do you happen to have any Super Bowl prop bets?
No Super Bowl prop bet yet. We'll get into that Super Bowl probably maybe the week before. I don't know. But other than the futures I liked, that was about it. What do you have? Do you have anything?
No, honestly, I wanted to pick your brain at it because between the two of us, you're definitely the master when it comes to prop bets.
No, Super Bowl week, I think we'll have a special show with a billion prop bets. No one's ever seen me in this realm bet on Super Bowl prop bets, but I usually pick about 200 different things on Super Bowl prop bets. So I end up betting more on my prop bets than I do the actual game. But we might even bring the Dynamite David in here to do a prop bet show on the Super Bowl for us.
Oh yeah, dude, that sounds like it'll be a blast. The 3 of us, we've done a few shows before, basketball ones together, and they always seem to flow really well, and kind of like having the 3 of us on there. But I'm definitely going to be staying tuned and picking your brain for those prop bets. You and my wife, because she's actually, you might be the king of prop bets, but I think she might be the queen of them too.
Well, maybe we'll have to get her on for the Super Bowl prop bet.
Oh, don't get her started, man. She loves her prop bets.
She'll love to bet over under national anthem.
And I think she's already got her coin flip bet in already. So we'll see how that goes.
All right, that's our show. Follow all our shows on greenlightnetwork.org. Follow us on Facebook and like us. Be sure to follow me, GLNChamp5, on Twitter and Instagram. Where can we find you, Achilles?
You can find me on Twitter at TD Achilles. You can find me on YouTube at That Dude Achilles. And you can also find me on Facebook as Achilles Rain.
All right, that's our show, and we're out.